I feel as if, though, I am like the local band following up like Pearl Jam and Nirvana, because you have Curtis Anderson and you have Ryder Strong. You have two recognizable like television personalities on this thing, and then it's like this guy who has shit you haven't heard of yet.
Right, but to defend you a little bit, though, you are a little different than they are.
Yes.
And this show is about the real Hollywood.
The real Hollywood.
So we want to learn from everybody out there, and besides, it takes us 8 years to edit an episode. So,
I'm gonna be huge by the time this comes
out. And say where we got to pitch it.
Yeah,
so
we pitched a
sci-fi. All right. And is it picked up, or is it you just made a pilot?
At this point, we just made a pilot.
Tell us a quick
bit
about it.
It's called Enter the Wolf, and it was actually an idea for a show I had several years ago when I first moved out here. I became friends with a fellow by the name of Mike the Wolf Michaels, and he's a special effects makeup artist. He's done everything from creature features to like he did like the toe in the Big Lebowski. Which I love telling people.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
He did that. I mean, he's done everything. I mean, the guy is like he was a stunt man. He like basically his whole back. Like I just kind of pitched him more than like the concept of the show. And I'm like, this. I just brought you the Dos Equis guy.
I've been in this industry for 30 years. I've done every job in Hollywood. Fight choreographer, stunts, acting. But what I live for now is makeup and makeup special effects.
Basically, the way things would go is you'd kind of see him working both in the lab with his team and then plotting and creating the effects, and then also, you know, like the stuff on set where the really interesting stuff happens.
As you learn out here, if you're trying to be a producer or you're trying to be a director or trying to be a writer or everything or actor or whatever, you kind of have to have a lot going on because you never know what's going to go first.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I've just recently discovered I still don't have enough going on. I mean, just to run through the list, I have a slasher film that I wrote that we're actually casting right now called The Cheerleaders Must Die, and which I'm going to be directing, so I'm prepping that. I'm in the middle of post on a documentary that I've been working on for the last year on the plastic surgery industry. And then the sci-fi pilot that I just did, Enter the Wolf. And then on top of that, in order to raise Mike's profile, so as Sci-Fi's making up their mind about it, spawned me creating a series called Makeup with a Wolf, which is a web series of Mike showing filmmakers how to do DIY special effects with like just stuff they can, like the most advanced stuff we use is stuff you can get at like the Spirit Halloween store. Oh, and then also a web series that we've locked in our financing for that we're supposed to shoot before Cheerleaders, even though we don't have a script for. So I'm in the middle of writing this web series, and then I was in a meeting with his line producer about Cheerleaders, and he says to me, do you have a web series that could go next month that is kind of action, has some action and has some heart, and it would be $1 million, and these people are just ready to go now. And I'm like, fuck, that's another opportunity missed. And that's kind of the thing, is like you need to have a lot of plates in the air, or a lot of balls in the air, plates spinning, mixing up my metaphors. Thanks, vodka Cran. To, you know, because at any point someone's going to be like, hey, do you have this?
Yeah.
You know, and even though I have financing for a web series that I'm doing, it's not $1 million, and it sure would have been nice to be like, actually, I have this.
You have more going on than most people.
You know what? It's funny because like in Hollywood, it benefits you to have like ADD, hypertension, and like post-traumatic stress syndrome. It actually helps because like what you're doing is like 100 times more than what the average person is doing.
I mean, it's just one of those things where I don't know, like, I think the average person could be doing it. There's nothing special about me. It's just I spent most of my 20s drinking and not really doing much with myself other than wanting to be a filmmaker. And then I kind of was just like, you know what, all this wanting to be is not really doing a goddamn thing. And the way things are now with high-def cameras and with the fact that I can edit on a laptop and I can do whatever, I'm like, I can start making my own content. And I can become a director today. you know, and
which is kind of what we're doing here at My Dream of Hollywood. You can click on the other little shows that we've done too on the site here. I always wanted to do that.
It's good. I've never done that either.
Because, like, you know, on YouTube they got the little thumbnail.
yeah, Curtis does that all the time in his videos. After film school, my parents gave me the choice of, do you want to go to grad school or do you want, you know, and I was like, I told them, you know, I didn't really learn much as an undergrad in film school, and at the time I was like, I just save your guys' money, just buy me a camera, I'm going to make my own movie. And so I went off and I did my own kind of, especially at the time, I was like, I'm going to make my own mariachi style movie, where it's just all guerrilla, it's all, you know, and it was a spaghetti western vampire film. It's called The High Cost of Sunrise. And I didn't know how to edit. So I bought Final Cut Pro for Dummies and taught myself how to edit. And then shortly after, I wrapped on that. Unfortunately, the drive it was on died, and the movie just kind of disappeared. But I did have these skills that I acquired, so I moved out here to LA in 2004, and started working as an editor. First on Avid, even though I didn't know Avid, I lied and said I knew it.
Nice.
And then I just, you know, I taught myself as quickly as I could how to learn Avid so I could cut on that.
How did sort of having that background of being an editor professionally, how does it help you be a director?
Coming to a project as a director, especially as, you know, someone who is on my level, which is the lowest of echelons, you know, it's John McTiernan has a great quote where he talks about film grammar. You know, in one of his commentaries, he talks about film grammar, and like, if you think about a writer writing prose, it takes him a lot of writing before he starts to get, like, when you read his stuff, you know it's his stuff. Like, if you read a Stephen King page, you know it's a Stephen King page, but it wasn't that way right off the bat. And directing's the same thing, you know, and when you start off, you do need to have a solid basis of film grammar. You do need to know the variety of shots you have to cover something. You do need to know the variety of different ways you can cover a scene, and how each shot will say something different, and how they will all work in conjunction with each other, which is something that editing really helps with, especially if you have a strong editorial background. You know how things will come together, and you already see that scene in your head. For example, in the opening scenes of Cheerleaders, I very clearly off the bat, the main theme of the film is the toxicity of high school nostalgia. And through the film, it's particularly through the prism of you know, the cheerleading culture. And so I kind of want to, in a non-sexual way, fetishize cheerleading culture. You know, show all the you know, the minute detail, the minutia of it, the shoelaces tying, the, you know, them stepping on the field, all you know, all the stuff that kind of goes in line with, like, competitive cheerleading.
And it sounds like you're like, Cheaters Must Die Must Be. Is it gonna be like an art film?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. You know, it's funny because Curtis originally envisioned it as kind of a trauma-esque movie, and I just don't like those kinds of movies. And I don't mean it to sound pretentious or my approach to it, because it's going to be a slasher film that delivers. But, you know, when you direct a movie, you should direct that as if it's going to be your last movie. Yeah. And that's not means to say it's like you take everything, you throw in everything in the kitchen sink with it. It means that you plan that shit out. And I think that's a problem with horror in general, is because I think you have a lot of people that are like, well, I can get my start directing a horror film. And they do that and they're like, oh, fuck it, it's a horror film. You know, you got to approach it, every project, as if this is going to be your last film. I'm directing something, I try to say everything I want to possibly say. And then as soon as I am an empty vessel, then I feel like I'm done. And
I love the fact that you said, if you're a director, you should direct every movie like it's your last movie. That is just awesome. That is just pure awesome. Yeah.
I kind of like the empty vessel.
I like the mini tacos.
See, I would think that with the name Manikatos, that you were the product of Nikes and Adidas having sex.
That's a new one.
That's brilliant.
Brilliant.